Hello, I'm Daniela Leon, the young ambassador from Inspiring Girls Switzerland, and we have started a new series of interviews called Inspiring Interviews, where I make an interview with role models in various fields to showcase as many careers as possible to us young girls. Today I'm interviewing Marina Petrovic. Hello, Marina.
Hi, Daniela. Hi. So thank you for having me and for choosing me to have the interview with me. Just briefly about me. So my name is Marina Petrovic. As you can probably hear from my last name, I come from Croatia. There I studied physics, did my master's in physics, and then after that I did another master's in financial mathematics in Scotland, so Great Britain, and then I moved to Switzerland. And here I work as a data analyst for EWZ. So yeah, that's the brief introduction. I'm happy to have this interview and to answer more questions.
When did you realize you wanted to work in this career?
In this career that I ended up, I decided to work there 4 years ago when I started my job. So as you can hear from my brief introduction, I first studied physics, so I first wanted to be a scientist. Then I changed my mind and thought maybe I wanted to work in finance, so I studied financial mathematics. And then after that, I realized, okay, I don't want to work in finance. And I focused a bit more on learning how to program a bit more than I knew before. And then I started working where I work at the moment, which is data analyst, is a lot of programming. So, and I ended up kind of in informatics at the end. So
it was difficult.
Yeah, I think it's always difficult to know what you want to do, especially when you have to make these choices when you're like, I don't know, 14, and then when you're 18, you need to decide what you want to study. But you basically still don't know what options are out there and you don't know what you want to do. So that's perfectly normal. If you still don't know what you want to do, you're free to change your mind.
What does a typical day look like in your current job?
Typical day. So I'm lucky to have a flexible working hours. So I don't have to like get up at a specific time and start working at a specific time. But I have to do my 8.5 hours a day. So my typical day is I log into my computer. Now that we're in home office, that goes a bit faster. And I check my emails to see if there's any problems, if there's anything that needs to be fixed, is any process not functioning as it should. And then luckily, if there's nothing to fix, then I check what projects I'm currently working on, what I need to be doing or what I need to do in the next few months, and then I figure out what is the most important thing for me to do today, and then I start doing it that, which is mostly, as I mentioned, programming. So that's my typical day, and then I mostly program, have my lunch, come back to my computer and continue with my work. And of course there's a lot of meetings in the meantime because I support a lot of I work with a lot of different people in different teams in my company, so if they need something fixed or they need me to make something new for them, then I also have to have meetings with them to discuss it and see what they want.
And what type of projects are you involved in right now?
At the moment, I'll try to explain. Normally companies have their data, so information about electricity production and stuff like that in our company. And what we did so far, and a lot of companies did, we had like a local database. So you can imagine as if we had a computer and our data was on this computer. But now we're trying to move it to cloud. So basically to have all the data available from anywhere. So my job now is to figure out which data we need to take from where we have it now and move to the cloud, and which data we will leave. And of course, later on, I will have to actually do it to move all the important data there. And also what we're trying to do is have all the data from the power plants. So for example, water production, how much water is there in the lakes to produce electricity and stuff like that. I'm trying to gather all this information and make a nice report for the management, so they can always see how much water they have, how much electricity they can produce, so they can adjust when needed. So that's, I guess, the most interesting things I'm doing now.
And so do you work alone or in teams?
I work in a team. So my team, I think we're about 20 people, and out of these 20 people, 2 women in this team, and so 18 men. Yeah, so I work, that's my, so to say, core team that I work in, and then I also, of course, cooperate with many other teams as we are helping many other teams, not just our own.
And you just said only 2 women are in your team, so why do you think that there like a few girls go to the field?
I think it's, I mean, when I studied physics, it was also like this. When I started my first year, we were 100 students and 10 women. And by the last year, it was something like 2 or 3 women and 20 men. So not many go to the end. I think it starts quite early. So I have a son who is 3 years old. So I think, and I see now that it starts quite early. So to my son, everyone buys like these logical toys to assemble the cars, the small computers and stuff. And when you have a girl, everyone buys her dolls and pink stuff, because everyone kind of starts assuming right away that he's interested in logical stuff and instruction and stuff like that, and girls are interested in dolls and having a family and stuff like that. So I think it starts quite early, and then a lot of girls think right away, okay, I'm not good in that, so I'm not even going to try. I'm going to focus on something else. And I think that's the major problem. And I think also a lot of girls think it's not interesting. They think that these technical things are not interesting, and sometimes they think, okay, I want to work more with people, so I don't want to work on the technical side. But what they don't understand is that you always work with people, no matter where you end up.
And you just said you have a family, so how do you balance that with your career?
Well, it's not easy, and I think in Switzerland is a bit more difficult for me because I come from Croatia, where all men and all women work. I think it's also because the people are not that rich, they don't have that much money, so both parents have to work. So for me, it was always normal that both women and the man work. And when I came to Switzerland, it was like everyone was shocked that I'm still working and I have a small boy at home. But for me, it was quite normal to work. What I'm very happy about that in Switzerland, I can work part-time, so I don't have to work 100%. So after I had my son, I started working 80%. So I'm not working every day. For example, I don't work on Wednesdays, so my son has a break from going to Kita. And I think that's a very good balance. I've also tried to cut a bit more down and spend more time at home, and then I realized I'm not a happy mom if I'm a lot at home, because I don't feel like I'm using the stuff I studied for. So I decided to go back to working a bit more, and I think that helps me, and I think I'm much more happy if I work and then see my son, and then I can dedicate myself fully to my son and be happy and enjoy spending time with him, and not think how that's only difficult. I don't know if that answers your question or helps you, but I think it's a balance that you need to find, and I'm very happy that I have a husband who also has a flexible job, so he can step in quite a lot, and we share everything really 50-50. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's really good. And as you said, here it's not that common for both parent, mostly the woman, to work. So it's really good, like, to empower girls that they don't have to leave their career to have a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what is something that you really like or dislike about your job that you think about right now?
What I really like at my current job, at my current company, is that I feel like I'm making a difference. Like I can really see how the stuff I do affects my company and the decisions they make, how I help them do their job, how I help the company produce the electricity that in the end comes to all of us in Zurich area at least. So you kind of see the direct result of your job. So your company is actually producing something that you can see, and that's the nicest thing about my job. Of course, the job has, every job has, so to say, bad sides, although I don't think they're bad sides, but there are some things you need to do that are not fun or interesting. So there are, of course, repetitive tasks, so the stuff you need to do every day, and that's not the most exciting thing. Sometimes it's a bit boring, but everything is like that. Also in school, you have all different subjects, and you're probably interested in 2 or 3 of them, but you still have to do the rest of them to finish the school. So I think everything is like that in life, and I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's also good to do the boring stuff, because then you also get some ideas on how to improve it, how to change it. I think that boredom is also something good.
And now, because you started talking about school, let's go a little bit back in time. And what subjects were you good at? And also, were you a good student?
I was always a very good student. So my father is a mathematics professor and my mother worked in a bank, and I was always kind of, let's say, also a bit pushed to this to this area. And that was also the most familiar thing for me. So I was always good in mathematics and physics and stuff like that, but it's also hard to say, because I think my father started explaining it quite early to me. So it seemed quite interesting. I'm doing the same to my son, not because I want to, but because it's something that I'm good at. So I'm happy to tell him more about stuff like that and a bit less about stuff I don't know. So yes, I was good in math, but I was also good in other subjects. But yeah, I was really, not really, but I was quite bad at sports when I was at school. So that was the only thing that bugged me. But what I decided is, when I didn't have to do any sports, so after I started university, at least in Croatia, you don't have to do any sports anymore. But then I decided to do it, and I started doing yoga, I started to do weightlifting and all kinds of stuff that I'm still doing. So I think it was, I didn't like to do it because I wasn't very good at it. And I was I had to do it, and it wasn't that fun. But now I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I really enjoy it.
No, yeah, I'm also not good in like school sports.
Exactly.
But yoga is actually really good. I like that a lot.
Yes, yoga is quite good.
It's really different.
Yeah.
And what is something that you have learned personally or professionally, you can decide, in this time?
What have I learned?
Yeah, like something surprising that you have learned.
I think the surprising thing was that you can also be 36, I'm 36 years old now, and still be thinking, is this career the best for me? Should I be doing also something else? and figuring out that that's normal, because when I was in school, I was like, yeah, you're like 12 or 14, you need to know what you want to do, which job you're going to do when you grow up, how your life is going to look. And the most surprising thing was like, yeah, no, you won't know that, and that's fine. You can always change your mind. And I find that really empowering, because otherwise you feel like okay, if I make a mistake now and choose the wrong career, my whole life will be bad. But knowing that you can change your mind anytime and take another direction and it will be fine. And in the end, you will go where you wanted to go and you'll be happy with that. That was the most surprising thing, but also the nicest thing that I have learned on the way in school and in life.
I didn't know that you can like change your mind when you want.
I was quite lucky because, as I said, I studied physics and then I went to finance, so financial mathematics, which is a bit different but still quite similar. And then in the end, I ended up working as a data analyst where I do a lot of programming, which is also quite similar. But to be honest, I didn't know how to program before I started my job. I mean, I learned it in school, so I knew some basics, but I was no programmer. But also in the last 4 years, I became quite good at it because I think anything that interests you and that you give enough time to, you will become good at it. Nothing else matters, no matter what people tell you.
And do you have like a advice that you can give the girls watching this?
My advice would be to try to figure out what interests you and do it, no matter what they tell you, no matter if you think, okay, that's not for girls, or if you think, oh no, I don't know that, I'm not talented. As I said, I think if you like something and you think, okay, that is interesting for me, then you will put a lot of effort into it, you will put a lot of time into it, and you will become good at it. And yeah, the thing is that it won't even feel like you're working, because if you're doing something that's interesting for you, the time will just fly by and you will be amazed at how much you learned and how much you progressed from the start to the end, just because it was interesting for you, and then you didn't mind spending hours and hours and days learning this thing, because in the end you will be very proud of yourself for achieving this, and the whole way there will be fun for you. So yeah, that is a really good
that is a really good advice. I will definitely take it because it's really inspiring. And thank you very much for being in this interview and for coming here today.
Thank you.